She wasn't Egyptian. She bathed in donkey milk. She spoke 9 languages. And she made 2 of the most powerful men in Roman history, Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, fall madly in love with her. But was Cleopatra truly the seductive siren history remembers? Or was she something far more dangerous, a master of politics, power, and psychological warfare? Cleopatra, 7 Philopator, a name that echoes through history, wrapped in myth, scandal, and seduction. But the truth is far wilder than the legends. She ruled not just with beauty, but with brains, diplomacy, and absolute control. Even her enemies admitted she could talk anyone into anything. She wasn't just born into power. She earned it, kept it, and weaponized it. First, the shocker. Cleopatra wasn't even Egyptian. She belonged to the Ptolemaic dynasty, descended from one of Alexander the Great's generals, and her ancestry was purely Macedonian Greek. Despite ruling Egypt, none of her predecessors had even bothered to learn the local language. Cleopatra changed that. She learned Egyptian, along with 8 other languages, becoming the first of her line to speak to her people in their native tongue. Greek, Egyptian, Hebrew, Aramaic, Latin. She didn't just speak to impress. She spoke to rule. She read philosophy, studied science, dabbled in alchemy. In a world where women were silenced, Cleopatra made herself heard in every language that mattered. When Julius Caesar entered Egypt during a brutal civil war between Cleopatra and her brother, she didn't walk into his camp. She was smuggled in, hidden inside a rolled-up carpet or perhaps a linen sack, depending on the account. When that bundle was unfurled before Caesar, out stepped Cleopatra, young, radiant, brilliant, and utterly fearless. That single act turned the tide of power in her favor. Their alliance wasn't just romantic, it was strategic. Cleopatra used her time with Caesar to secure her throne, eliminate her rivals, and give birth to a child, Caesar, a living, breathing link between Egypt and Rome, a child that made the Roman elite seethe with paranoia. Cleopatra was no ordinary queen. She was obsessed with her image, both politically and physically. Legend has it, she bathed daily in sour donkey milk to preserve her skin. She kept hundreds of donkeys to supply her beauty routine. Strange as it sounds, donkey milk contains natural alpha-hydroxy acids, which exfoliate and soften skin. 2,000 years before skincare influencers, Cleopatra had her own secret formula. Her grand entrance to meet Mark Antony would put any modern celebrity to shame. When summoned, she arrived not simply as a queen, but as a goddess, sailing up the river on a gold-plated barge with purple sails and silver oars, dressed as Aphrodite, the goddess of love. Musicians played, perfumes drifted through the air, and Antony was instantly captivated. But this wasn't romance, it was theater. It was power. Their relationship, like the one with Caesar, was both love and alliance. Cleopatra and Antony ruled together as king and queen of the East. They had 3 children, but their growing power and their open rejection of Rome's influence put a target on their backs. To Rome, she wasn't just a foreign queen. She was an idea, a threat, a revolution wrapped in silk. Octavian, Caesar's adopted heir, declared war, not on Antony, not on Egypt, but on Cleopatra herself. When defeat became inevitable, the 2 lovers chose death over humiliation. Cleopatra's suicide is one of the most famous in history, bitten by an ASP, the story goes. But historians now believe the snakebite story was Roman propaganda. A snake bite would have been chaotic, painful, and slow. More likely, she used a lethal mixture of poisons, hemlock, wolfsbane, and opium, administered through a hairpin or ointment. She died a queen on her own terms, refusing to be paraded through Roman streets as a trophy. Her son, Caesar, the last pharaoh of Egypt, was captured and killed. Octavian reportedly said, "Too many Caesars is not a good thing." So, who was Cleopatra? Not the exotic temptress of Shakespeare and cinema. She was a scholar, a linguist, a strategist, and a sovereign. She was manipulative when she had to be, ruthless when it mattered, and brilliant always. She didn't just shape Egypt's fate. She reshaped Rome's future. Her legacy outlived her empire. Her myth outgrew her enemies. And history, it never forgot her. The last queen of Egypt didn't just seduce powerful men, she outmaneuvered them. And the world? It has never stopped talking about her. Make sure to like this video if you learned something new. Subscribe for more wild stories from the ancient world. And hit the bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and remember, the past isn't dead. It's just waiting to be told right.